Chapter 21. I hath not seen. Man, in a progressive state of growth, finds that he is constantly to let go of old things in order to lay hold of new. The old may have served for stepping stones to reach higher things, but if he is to be in a constant state of progression, he must, in the nature of things, be engaged day by day in leaving behind him the stepping stones which have served their end. Only in this way may he become truly related to life. Things are only good in their right place, time, and way. Real happiness comes always as the result of right adjustment between man's inner life and his outer environment, and each person makes such adjustment according to his degree of development. It is not to be expected of anyone that he shall live beyond what he knows or can comprehend. A man on a purely physical plane of being may be, in a way, living more truly the knowledge he possesses than another who has developed far beyond him. To whom but a little has come, but a little is required. Greater knowledge requires greater achievement. We are all held accountable by our ideals, that is, our highest ideals. When there is failure to live them, sit in judgment upon us. In fact, they constitute the one and greatest judge in life. We can often be at perfect peace in our own minds when others judge or condemn us, but no one can ever be at peace when he feels that he is violating his highest ideals. Right judgment, then, according to one's ideals, is the one thing necessary in life. But as we proceed in life with such adjustments, our ideals are ever enlarging, and the adjustment of today is not going to prove sufficient for the morrow. There is a process of daily dying in order that we may daily enter into a new and larger life. Things useful only at one time in life, if still held to, would retard man rather than help him in his upward way. That which may be considered a virtue in the savage is not necessarily so in the highly civilized man. Character, goodness, and virtue will all cease to be good when they cease to be progressive. One height attained in life should only disclose new and greater heights to be attained. There is no ultimate. Eternal progress that leads man ever upward and onward is the order of life. The people who have reached a state of contentment with what they may have accomplished in life have with it reached a state of stagnation where growth and development have ceased. There are always better ways of doing everything, and we enter into the new and larger life only through the constant effort we are putting forth to do everything in a better way than we have done in the past. The old has served its purpose. Push forward to the new. Leave the shadows behind and press forward to the greater realities that lie before. Make life what it should be, joyous in its melody, perfect in its rhythm, and thoroughly adjusted in its harmony. Each plane of being has its own music that can best be understood and assimilated by those living on that plane. One must become thoroughly attuned to the music of one's own development before he will be able to enter into the real enjoyment of music of a higher order, but there should be the tendency or desire that continually makes for whatever is best in music. Music that, at one time, may have cheered or brightened the life of man, comes to a place where it has fulfilled its purpose. It may have been perhaps only of the most elemental kind, but having served its end, such music is no longer necessary to his life. For there comes to him the appreciation of a higher music, and there can never be any retrograde movement or the giving up of this higher order for a return to the lower, without loss to the one taking such a course. The question of adjustment enters into the listening to music. If the mind of the listener is in a high state of activity, he can never get the best from music, because music has more of emotion in it than of mentality. One must listen with the heart far more than with the mind. The mind may become engrossed with the form given to music, but after all is said, heart must speak to heart, and it is only in this relation that we may realize fully or truly appreciate the value and beauty of music. There is a state of mind that is to be regarded as neither mental concentration nor spiritual meditation, but which comes, as it were, between the two. We might call it contemplation. A state wherein the mind and body are both relaxed and one feels rather than thinks. It is in this condition that the greatest good is to be derived from music, whether it be vocal or instrumental. In playing or singing, the performer should be using heart and mind. He may be said to be in a concentrated, positive condition and thoroughly absorbed in what he is doing, while the listener must ever seek to be passive in order to benefit by the music. We might call it a state of passive receptivity. It is only in this way that he can have any real appreciation of the music to which he is listening. Often in reading musical criticisms, one wonders at the diversity of thought expressed by the different critics, some arguing for and some against, and frequently one is inclined to question the competency of the critics to pass judgment on the composition or its rendering. Musical critics who are possessed of a thorough technical knowledge of music often allow their minds to become so active in listening to music that they are unable to render a truly musical criticism, because they have paid so much attention to the form that they have missed the spirit of the music. Beauty of form is necessary, but it is by no means the greatest part of the music. I must emphasize right here that it is only by becoming passively contemplative that the listener becomes truly receptive and enters into the soul of the music. To every spirit, as it is more pure, and hath in it the more of heavenly light. To it the fairer body doth procure to habit in, and it more fairly dight, with cheerful grace and amiable sight. For of the soul, the body form doth take, for soul is form and doth the body make. Too often unjust criticism comes through the failure of the critic to make harmonious adjustment. The time is not so far past when the majority of musical critics declared that Wagner's music consisted solely of a blare of trumpets, the beating of drums, and the clanging of brass. Later, when they were able to understand something of the underlying motive in Wagner's work, they learned to reconstruct their criticisms. Too often we will find that the failure to recognize good comes through lack of adjustment. Let me give a little illustration out of my own life. Some years ago, I was in the city of Montreal. The day was hot, and the streets were dusty. The work and the traffic produced what seemed to me all kinds of discordant noises which served, in turn, to make me feel very much out of sorts with myself, with everything and everybody. In this frame of mind, I took a carriage to Mount Royal, and when I got there, I went out to the farthest end of the little park that overlooks the city and sat down on a seat. I had been there but a very short time when I felt a soothing influence, and a little later became conscious that all the discordant sounds of the city had united in such a way as to bring out harmony similar to what one may feel from the wind moving the branches and the leaves of trees, or from water running over pebbly courses. Now there is no question that all this harmony came from what people would call discordant noises, and the whole question was really one of relationship or adjustment. I was not adjusted mentally to the noises of the city, so could not detect their melody or harmony. But with the new adjustment there came something that I had been unable to get before. I might illustrate this in two different ways. A person may be in a very small room listening to a great piano or some other instrument, and because of his nearness to the music, fail to get anything satisfactory from it. Perhaps, more than this, he may become visibly disturbed, and the music, instead of making for a harmonious condition of mind, would make for a discordant one, while in a much larger room or a hall the same instrument would have given him only pleasure. Again, a person sitting very close to a hot fire, instead of enjoying the warmth, the color, and the glow of the fire, might feel only the greatest discomfort, while another sitting at some distance might derive the greatest enjoyment from the warmth that it conveyed, from the flame and the glow. So we shall find all the way through life that the question of adjustment is one of the greatest importance. Harmony in life is exactly the same as harmony in music. It is a mental effort to establish true outer relation for inner rhythm and melody. Harmony is the outer setting for the inner feeling. The more beautiful that setting can be, the more it will be able to represent the inner music of life. Harmony in the outer relation of life is indicative of true adjustment of the inner rhythm of life. There are many people in the world who do know something of the melody of life, but who are unable to express that melody through harmony, so that they neither understand others nor do others understand them, and without understanding there can be no true adjustment to environment. It is not enough to have inner feeling, even when combined with beautiful ideals. The feeling and the ideals both exist in order to become fully expressed. Harmony, therefore, is necessary to all true expression. It constitutes the outer evidence of the inner life. Harmony may be called the science of life, because science is an outer or practical demonstration of some inner truth. God gives us the rhythm and the melody of life, in order that we may use it and express in our outer world the divine ideals which we receive from the fountainhead of life. With our minds and our bodies we are working out all that is written within. There is an inner book of life that each person must learn to interpret and then give it form through spoken or written words, through voice or instrument, through brush or chisel, in a great variety of ways. For each man must express to the degree he knows, and all this expression, in so far as it is thoroughly harmonious or scientific, is a record of the inner kingdom which is taking form on earth. It is God speaking to men through rhythm and melody, and each man, having heard, should try to interpret to his fellow man that which he has heard. This, then, is living the musical life, being attuned to God, so that both the inner eye and the inner ear may hear the celestial tones and see the heavenly colors. If people could only realize how much more health and happiness would be theirs by living the truly musical life, surely they who knew this would seek, not only to live this life inwardly, but to give full expression to it outwardly. What a wonderful place this world would be if each soul in it was trying to carry out the divine plan of living in so far as it was able to know and understand. All humanity joining together in one great symphony into which, from the lowest elemental note to the highest spiritual note, would come the wonder of melody and the beauty of harmony. But the individual may say, the world is not yet ready for such an upward step. Granting that what he says is true, there is nevertheless another side to the question. Everything comes first through individual effort. The ideal set up by the soul comes in time to be the one held by the many. Each person is expected to give to the world whatever he may be in possession of, and through his doing this, the world becomes enriched and the giver also derives new light, so that he may continue on in his giving. Let the individual live as though the coming of the kingdom of God on earth depended on his own efforts, and it will not be long before he will find that others have become related to him with the same object and purpose in view. The individual who lives in a rhythmic, melodious, harmonious way, and lives it to the full, becomes a mighty magnet to attract, not only all the forces needed by himself for the successful carrying out of the work in which he is engaged, but also to attract others who will aid him in such work. The vital power to inspire his outer work must come from within, but to one who lives the fullness of such a life, there will come all the means necessary for the outer work. Because all things do work together for good to those who love God, and there is no truer way of loving God than by becoming harmoniously related to man and trying to make the world a better place for people to live in. When man learns to love and serve his fellow man, then he is drawing close to God. Through love and service, love to inspire and service to express, shall man enter into the kingdom of God. No one who is in possession of a living ideal should refrain from giving an outer expression to it because he stands alone. He always will stand alone if he hides his light under a bushel. Energy and rhythmic motion is the great law of the universe. From it come all the forms of life. Whatsoever your hand finds to do, do it with thy might. Every problem of life has to be worked out. Action is life. Inaction is death. More people pass out of this world because of inaction than because of too much action. People seldom, if ever, recognize the importance of being rightly adjusted to their work. If work is a hardship and we bring to it a grumbling or fault-finding disposition, we shall find it difficult to do anything in the best possible way. If we take pleasure in our work and give it our best thought, we shall not only do it quickly and well, but it will become a true expression of the idea that exists in the mind of the worker. If one can use harmony in one's daily life, one will get from it not only quality but quantity as well. For harmony is necessary to all true expression, whether it be in music, in work, or in one's relation to one's fellow man. Each person has the power within himself to produce the harmony that is necessary to live life in a lawful, orderly way. Each person must make his own harmony. No one can have it done by proxy. His life will become just as great and as beautiful as he wishes and wills it to become. He can make his mind receptive to the inner rhythm and melody through a constant effort on his part to make that rhythm and melody thoroughly harmonious in his outer life. Humanity is one great body of which each individual is a part. Each part must realize its relation to the whole, and through such realization become harmoniously related to the whole. The part owes this to the whole, and when it has established true relationship, then it becomes responsive to all the strength and health and power that exists in the whole. The full attention of the individual must first of all be directed to forming his true relationship to the grand body of humanity. And when that is once fully established, there will come all the receiving that is in any way necessary to the part. In the past, the individual thought of himself not only as being separated from the power that brought him into existence, but also separated from his fellow men, having to stand alone, as it were, entirely dependent upon himself and his own resources. In the last few years, there has been a gradual change from that way of looking at life. New ideals are entering the minds of men and women. Intellectually, they are beginning to perceive the great, all-inclusive brotherhood of humanity. Only in a minor way have we begun to feel that brotherhood, for thought without feeling is never productive of great results. But if we can think and even feel a little of this brotherhood, then we are on the right road, and eventually there must come the fuller feeling and the larger thought. Each person whose mind is filled with this ideal of brotherhood may hasten the day of its coming by trying, in his limited way, to live that which he feels and thinks. He must live that which he feels and thinks so that he may become a living example of what true brotherhood should mean in the world. His heart should be imbued with loving-kindness and goodwill. His every effort should be directed toward a full and free outward expression of all that he feels and thinks in his inner consciousness. In following this course, he not only becomes a light to the lives of others, but he is in an ever-ascending scale which will carry him from one height to a still greater one. Through blessing the world, he is blessing himself. Through giving happiness, he is receiving happiness. His life has become a never-ending melody. He is leaving the dead things of the past behind and is pressing forward to those things which lie before. But life shall on and upward go. Each eternal step of progress beats to that great anthem, calm and slow, which God repeats. In conclusion, let me briefly sum up a few of the benefits to be derived from music and color. Let us take, in the first place, the healing of the body of man. When the body is sick or diseased, a diagnosis will show that its molecular vibration is unrhythmic and inharmonious. The circulation of the blood is so disturbed by this condition that there is too great a flow to some parts of the body and not sufficient to the other parts. Consequently, the body is not evenly nourished in all parts. If the harmony of rhythm could be again established, without doubt the body would resume its normal or healthy condition. Through the production of rhythm, melody, and harmony of musical sound, there would be set up in the body exactly the same kind of vibration as that produced by the music, because whatever may be the original kind or quality of vibration, it continues to the end. Such musical vibration, then, of a consequence produces molecular musical vibration of the body and restores it to its necessary harmony. Again, in a certain, yet in a much finer way, harmony of color vibration would act on all the atoms of man's body to produce harmonious atomic vibration. In the restoration of the body to its normal physical health and strength, the one important thing to know would be the kind or quality of music and color necessary to set up the harmony of molecular and atomic vibration. It will be found that the heart and the mind of the patient must be, as it were, attuned to both, because the body is only the instrument upon which vibration acts, and if the heart and mind are not attuned to vibration, it cannot produce other than temporary results. In other words, in order to maintain the rhythm and harmony of molecular and atomic vibration, it becomes necessary that heart and mind should undoubtedly become attuned to sound and color vibration, and in this way a habit be established. For a habit once formed tends to make permanent any condition, whether it be of mind or of body. A step farther brings us to a still more important matter. Man is a little cosmos, summing up in his physical body every element in the physical universe, and in his spiritual nature every quality that exists or has its being in the universal soul. His physical body, being a part of the universe and being more alive than any form on earth, must respond in a greater way to vibratory energy than does any other. But the degree to which any form may be said to be alive must be dependent upon the life and consciousness that animates it. Only the occasional man in the past has been alive or conscious of his relation to the whole, of his at-one-ment, not only to the universe of form, but the universe of spirit as well. Without such realization or consciousness, the life does not know how to establish the rhythm and harmony that must exist between the part and the whole. For the part must eventually come to beat in conscious rhythm, melody, and harmony with the whole. Everything necessary for this exists potentially in the soul, but man in his mentality has not awakened to it, and consequently is not using all his innate powers and possibilities. But music and color may both be made to cause the inner chords of life to vibrate in unison with the great cosmic forces of the universe, and when this is brought to pass, man will have attained consciously to the life everlasting. Upward the soul forever turns her eyes. The next hour always shames the hour before. One beauty, at its highest, prophesies that by whose side it shall seem mean and poor. No godheek thing knows aught of less and less, but widens to the boundless perfectness. Therefore man's mental, spiritual, and physical life is dependent on his receptivity to the inner rhythm and outer harmonies of music and color. And through such receptivity he becomes responsive, giving out of his own life all the rhythm, melody, and harmony that lives within it. And because of such giving, he enters into a still greater realization of the wonder and beauty of life. This is the only way of the upward trend that leads from earth to heaven, that leads from humanity to divinity, and it is in this way that the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God will become a living realization. Then shall all humanity mingle their voices in one grand symphony of song which shall unite with and become one in rhythm, melody, harmony, and beauty with the music of the spheres. End of chapter. End of book.